All right, welcome to my final part on this series on us Christians and with the belief that we have to act a certain way. I've said it before, Christ didn't come as a behavior modification person, okay? He didn't come for that, okay? He came to die in our place, and the way we act has nothing to do with God's grace. Now, of course, we want to act a certain way and behave a certain way, but we do it with the intention of living in peace with Him and not with the intention of I'm acting a certain way so people can see I'm a Christian, okay? What really defines us as believers is our reaction to things, the way we react. And I showed you on part 1, 2, and 3 different scenarios and how Christ reacted a certain way, and in the parables how Christ was speaking about the way people react to certain situations. And I broke it down a little bit and explained. So if you haven't watched any of those, please watch those first. I got part 1, part 2, and part 3. Okay, and this is the final part, and I want to speak about how Christ reacted on the Sermon on the Mount. When he was in the Sermon on the Mount, of course, he said, "Blessed are those poor in spirit." He went through that whole thing of those who were blessed, those who were going to obtain mercy. But then he gets to, kind of like the middle of the sermon, and that's about chapter 5, verse 21 of Matthew. And for example, in one of them, he says, "Thou shalt not kill." He says, "You have heard it said, thou shalt not kill." Basically, you have read it in the Bible, or you have read it in the Torah. You have heard it from the Pharisees or the Sadducees, whoever. You have heard it said, "Thou shalt not kill." Right? Now, Christ flips the script, because now he's like, "But I say unto you." But I say unto you. So, "Thou shalt not kill." Remember, that's the way you act. That's something externally, the way you stab and you kill, you shoot. That's external. Okay, that's external stuff. You see a war, when people die, you visually see them dying. Okay, that's all external. That's acting a certain way. Okay, but then Christ says, he says, "You have heard it said, thou shalt not kill." Then he says, "But I say unto you, if you are angry with your brother, you should be held liable and into the hellfire." And of course, that's not literally fire in hell, please. But anyway, that's I have other videos on that. But anger toward your brother. Anger. How many people are angry in their hearts? And sometimes they don't express it, but they're angry in their hearts, and they're smiling on Sundays. Praise God! And they're angry because someone at work did something. They didn't get the job they wanted, or they got fired, or someone did something. They're reacting a certain way in their heart. See, Christ is putting it back to the heart. Why? Because that's where Christ dwells. Christ dwells in your heart. So now he's putting it, boom, back on you. Not the way you act externally. So me not killing someone makes me a good person? Anybody cannot kill someone. There are billions of people who don't kill. But it's not the way you act externally, okay? Then you have another one. "You have heard it said, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you, whoever lusts after a woman." Okay, you're lusting after someone. Okay, and let's not even go there, because it could be lusting after certain things. You can be lusting after things you don't need, and it's messing your heart up, because you desire it so bad, you're doing things you shouldn't do. So Christ once again takes it, "You have heard it said in the past," basically throws that out the window and changes it back and put it on your heart. Back on your heart, okay? He says, "You have heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth." That's what they have heard said, right? That was the law. Christ said, hey, it's like someone saying, well, in John says, in the book of Corinthians chapter 3, verse 5 says XYZ. But I say, forget that. Most people go, what? No way. Right? Christ said, hey, you have heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Right? But then he says, but I say unto you, if someone smacks you, hey, you give him the other cheek. If someone wants something from you, you give it to them without asking. If someone asks to borrow money, you let them borrow. Don't beg, hey, where's my money? Because you're reacting a certain way. Now, it doesn't mean that we go and we let them, I've always said, okay, if someone smacks me on one cheek, I turn the other cheek. But if you smack me on the second cheek, I'm going to hit you back. Because the Bible doesn't say nothing about that. See, so you smack me once, I'm going to keep my peace. You smack me a second time, I'm not keeping my peace. Because Christ never said nothing about that second cheek. So, with that being said, it is the way we react. See, Christ once again puts it back on your heart. The way you react. When someone cuts you off on the street, what is your reaction? Most people are in a rush to get to nowhere. You're in a rush to get home, to do nothing. Okay, so the way you react to certain things in your heart, this is what defines you. And once again, most of the time, your reaction are things that no one else sees. So when you're driving down the road, someone cuts you off, you can curse them out in your heart for no reason. Because you're not really, and if you're late, big deal you're late. So what? Deal with it. Okay, so it's the way we react, okay? And then Christ, this is the greatest one, when Christ says, hey, you have heard it said, love your neighbor but hate your enemy. This is what was taught, and they knew this is the mentality that they had. Love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But then Christ says, but I say unto you, love your neighbor and love your enemy. What good are you if you love only those that love you? So when someone does you wrong, you really need to learn how to react a certain way in love and kindness. Okay, why? Because if you're going to do the same thing everyone else does, he says, what good? What good is it? What good is it for you to say, I believe in Jesus, and you behave or react like everyone else does? Christ is in us. This is why Christ took the law and abolished it. Basically said, you have heard it said, but I say. Because everything you have heard said had to do with external things. Okay, had to do with killing. That's external. But I say unto you, whoever calls his brother a fool should be in danger of hellfire. Alright? So I hope that this little mini-series has allowed you to somehow, sometimes you need to slow down when you're going to react. Take a breath. And then consider your options. Don't react right away. Some people just want to react because you want it right there. We're all guilty of it. But it takes practice, and it takes Christ in you to for you to really believe that. For you to really get it in your heart and say, you know what, I'm going to react differently. And people start seeing the change. Like I said, we can all smile at church. We can all hug brothers and sisters and say, I love you, brother and sister, at church. We can all do that. Anybody can do that. That's the thing. Yeah, people at church have been going all their lives. It's a routine for them. It's just basically, it's an instinct. That's all it is. When they see a brother, I hug you, arms open. It's no true love there. Anybody can do that. The reality comes the way you react to certain situations. The way you act has nothing to do with the way you react. Remember, it's the way we react. Am I saying go and act bad and do? No. Okay? But once again, when you behave badly, doesn't mean you need to condemn yourself. Remember, in part 1 of this little mini-series, the lady caught in adultery, what did Christ say? Hey, I don't condemn you. Right? Most of the time, we condemn ourselves. And that is a sad situation because God doesn't condemn you. God doesn't look down upon you and condemn you. He's there with you. He's in you, in your heart. So the way we react has to be something that we have to practice. Some people are just not good with that. And there are certain situations where you know you're going to put yourself in a certain situation and you always react a certain way. Okay? So learn to relax. Learn to chill. God's with you. Just chill out. Enjoy life. Right? Eat, drink, and be merry. Right? Like Solomon said, enjoy it. Because when you're gone, someone else is going to enjoy it for you, whatever you leave behind. So enjoy, your life now. Love people. Love your enemies. Learn to react differently to the way people act toward you. Okay? And remember, learn to look at them with the same way that the prodigal son was looked at by his father. He came, like I said before in part 2, he came dirty and filthy, and the Father put a robe on him. Why? Because he's royalty. Why? Because his grace goes to his Son, who was lost as well. That grace is sufficient. So when you start looking at other people through God's eyes, it really starts changing your outlook on everyone. Love will pour out of your heart into them. You cannot look at them and condemn them, because Christ doesn't even condemn them. So who are you to condemn? See, so your reaction is condemning. And when you're condemning people, you're calling them a fool, raka. You're in danger of the hellfire. And hellfire, once again, is not hell where you're burning forever. Please. I think that many Christians are already mature enough to know that's not real. However, I think many just don't study enough to understand what all those symbols mean. Okay, so the way we react to certain things. Okay, so when you see something you don't like, you might react a certain way. You know, we need to get away from that. And you see that a lot of times with Christian in politics. You know, they focus so much on these politicians. God's in control. I don't care about those politicians. God's in control. Okay, our job is to what? Pray for those in authority, of course. And God is in control. No, God's in control, and that's it. So let's learn to, together, go out there and learn how to react differently. Slow down before you instantly react to things you've always done. When your kid drops a dish and it breaks, just know that you're not going to put that dish together by getting upset. Just look at it, take a deep breath and say, don't worry about it, be careful, I'll clean that up. Why? Because if you're an adult, how many dishes have you broken? I've broken dozens. So don't fret or react negatively toward things you cannot control. I always use this scenario. If you're falling off the Empire State Building, you have one or two things to do. You can react one way or another. And here are the only two ways you can react. You can yell in fear. You can yell in agony. You can yell in self-pity because you're about to hit the floor. Or you can just smile and say, Lord, thank you, it's been a good ride. Because when you hit the floor, same exact thing is going to happen. So you might as well go out smiling. Praise God. Thank you for watching this little mini-series. I pray that it was a blessing toward you. I pray that if you don't know Christ, that maybe this somehow will allow you to say, okay, I know what more or less what Christ came to do, or I know something about Jesus. I hope that it was a blessing to you. So please do me a favor. Go down below, hit subscribe, and you'll see the little gear next to subscribe on your window. Hit the little gear, and then hit the little box. That way, when I put new videos up, you'll get an email or a text, and you can watch my videos and stay updated. I have a website. If you get a chance to visit that website. It's iamtiredofchurch.com. My email is iamtiredofchurch@gmail.com. So I pray that get on there and look around. The website is still a work in progress, and I hope that it was a blessing toward you. God bless you, and don't ever forget that what Jesus Christ did is enough.